Cat Black. I first noticed you on Facebook when you were telling two black men that they just want to fuck white women when they delivered an honest message of solidarity across racial lines. I was going to ignore you, but then you started to subtweet me instead of confronting me and seemed to think that it was important to mention that I was a white dude. Being myself, I saw it as a bit of a challenge, and I'm sure after this, you'll gloat about all the traffic and cash you'll get from it. I don't much care about that at this moment. So, let's hear your eighth wonder of the world intellect discuss rape culture. I'm sure it's all entirely factual and not ridiculous, oh my goodness, let me tug at your heartstrings nonsense. Bring it, bitch.
So I was walking home the other day, and this guy followed me as I was walking to my apartment. He asked me where I was going, and I said, home, smiling politely and quickly turning around. Then he asked me if he could come with me, and I said, no, I'm okay, this time making sure that I had no eye contact with him. Then he asked me, can I get your number? And I said, sorry, no thank you. Then he asked me, do you live alone? And I said, no, I live with my boyfriend, hoping that he would get the clue. Then he said, so can I get your number?
What the hell was that? You're making a video about rape culture, and you deliver us some story about you walking home and dealing with some overly persistent creepy guy. That is precisely not rape. Why did you put that in there, Kat? You say in the comment section of this video that you are a rape survivor. Don't you think providing one more piece of anecdotal evidence would have helped your case about rape culture? I mean, it wouldn't have proven anything, but it would have at least been a stronger message as opposed to, one day this guy was too persistent in trying to go out with me or hook up or whatever. Nobody gives a fuck, Kat. We're talking about rape culture. Let's not try and dishonestly shoehorn your slightly uncomfortable experiences in with rape, huh? This video isn't supposed to be about you, but within the first 30 seconds, you've made it all about you. I don't actually believe that you're a rape survivor. Every single person I've heard say that rape culture exists has a rape story. So either you're incorrectly extrapolating your experiences to society, or you're a lying sack of shit. Sorry if my audience thinks this is a bit rude, but I don't take kindly to someone attempting to use me as some sort of lying, illogical white dude stereotype. No politeness punches are being pulled.
Rape culture is a culture in which sexual violence is considered the norm.
That's wonderful. Our society does not consider sexual violence the norm. In fact, we have laws that explicitly say, hey, people who live in this society, if you do this thing that we all think is awful and we can prove that you did it, we will punish you. If it were just the norm, why would people in this society feel enough animosity towards it to write a law about it? It would just be an accepted part of life, except it isn't in this society. Anyone who believes it has either 1. Never interacted with society, 2. Uses few and far between cases to claim anomalies are normal, or 3. Have been surrounded by an echo chamber their entire life, and use moral posturing to say anyone who doesn't believe we live in a rape culture is just part of the problem. When facts become part of the problem, you've lost, both your sanity and the argument.
It's a culture where girls going away to college are told that they should invest in pepper spray keychains, but doesn't teach boys about consent.
I think that women should have ways to protect themselves from people who would do harm to them, sexually or otherwise. You will notice that the term I used for the perpetrator there is entirely gender neutral. You say that we don't teach boys about consent. Do we teach girls about consent? And if we don't, why don't we teach girls about consent? They are just as capable at blackmailing men into having sex with them, using threats of violence, actual violence, and all that. Why don't we tell men that they should invest in pepper spray? I will tell you why. Because all of this nonsense is based on the presumption that men will rape women if they are not taught what consent is in some official setting. And women will never rape men because they know what consent is already. Now, I don't think that women don't know what consent is. What I'm wondering is, why do you think men don't? Do girls see some official consent course in middle school that all the guys just missed? And they thought rape was totally fine until someone says, hey, you know you're not supposed to have sex with people against their will, right? Give me a break. Want to know something really scary? I never went to a consent class, and I know exactly what is and isn't proper consent. Am I out of the ordinary? The correct answer is no, I'm not. The wrong answer is any other answer.
It's a culture that tells women that the length of their skirt determines how truthful their claims of sexual violence are.
Bullshit. That's all I should have to say to that she was asking for it talking point. I've seen hardly any real-world examples of this happening. I think I've seen one in my entire YouTube career. You're trying to say that we live in a culture of this attitude. It should be easy to find a boatload of examples of this.
It's a culture that encourages women to keep their sexual assaults to themselves for fear of losing family members or ruining a reputation.
Are you aware that false accusations actually exist? Reputations do get ruined over claims of rape and sexual assault, no matter the truth of the matter. If a woman was actually raped, and there's proof that she was raped, this culture will not say, she should have kept her mouth shut because of his reputation. They would say, wow, this falsely reputable guy is a scumbag, put him in jail. It's like you block out anything anyone else says about this issue except for feminists who dish out the standard read-along rape culture handbook.
It's a culture that tells boys that when they're raped by a female teacher, that they should be thankful that they were able to land a hot chick at such a young age.
In my experience, that situation happens far more often than the short skirt example. Maybe somebody should have taught these teachers about consent. I noticed that you honed in on boys and teachers. I sincerely hope you talk about grown men raped by grown women at least once in this video. But I have my doubts. Unless you only consider rape of the statutory variety an actual form of rape when males are the victims and women are the perpetrators.
It's a culture that tells boys that they can't come forward about their rapes when their rapists are men, because surviving sexual violence makes you gay, and not being able to defend yourself makes you a wimp.
Kat, why does my being raped by a woman make me gay?
It's a culture that jokes freely about men getting what they deserve in prison from other inmates.
Okay, so you showed joking about rape, but gave that example. That's not a joke. Joking about rape necessarily involves a joke of some type, like this classic. Hey, do you want to be raped? No. That's the spirit. That is hilarious because it's a joke. It's not the fact that rape was referenced that makes it funny.
It's a culture that teaches men that they're incapable of being survivors of sexual violence because of physiological responses.
I completely agree with that. I have no issue with that statement whatsoever. Now, how do you feel about mandatory consent classes for women? I'm going to keep hammering this point home as many times as I have to. You said we don't teach boys about consent. Do we teach girls? Please tell me what my culture does, because apparently my interacting with it for nearly 23 years has given me no indication that people know fuck all about consent until they took a special feminist-approved course.
It's a culture that teaches men that street harassment is a favorable way of approaching a woman.
Define street harassment.
It's a culture where I have to say no over and over and over again, because men are taught that no secretly means yes.
There you have it. You were trying to act like your situation is an indication of rape culture. That's pathetic. Men who do not immediately go away when asking a woman out are not always assholes. Sometimes, they just think they may have said the wrong thing, or they accidentally rubbed you the wrong way and then try something else. To think they would act the same way in regards to sex as they do with asking a woman out is stupid.
It's a culture where men are more willing to respect my rejection if they believe that I belong to another man.
Apparently not from your original story. The guy still asked for your number after you said that you had a boyfriend. In any case, men go away quicker when you say that you have a boyfriend, maybe. And bear with me, just maybe. Hold on tight. Because they're looking for single women. I mean, holy shit, someone stop the fucking presses. Single men are looking for single women. Oh, geez, what are we gonna do? It's not because you're a man's property. Do you talk to anyone who doesn't agree with you on this in the real world? Have you actually spent time around a decent number of men? God, why do I have to explain basic human interaction to a grown-ass woman?
Rape culture is not the idea that we live in a society that supports the idea of rape, but rather that we live in a society that trivializes, downplays, and sometimes struggles to decipher sexual violence.
A jail sentence is not trivial.
Rape culture tells survivors of sexual violence that they are required to report their rapes, but only convicts 2% of reported rapists.
Yeah, due process is a bitch, isn't it? But I enjoy seeing some concrete evidence of something illegal happening before sentencing someone to prison. I know. I'm just weird like that. But don't worry, you won't have to deal with that for much longer. Pretty soon we'll convict 100% of reported rapists. Progress.
Rape culture unfortunately encourages silence. It creates a situation where people are made to feel responsible for the sexual violence that happens to them.
Nope. Being responsible for your own safety does not equate to being responsible for the actions of someone else. Just because you failed at keeping yourself safe does not mean that you are now responsible for that rape. Hardly anyone thinks that. Why are you taking outliers in our society and forcing them to play the role of the normal person? Do you think the average person walking down the street believes these things? If your answer is no, then congratulations, you've blown your own idea about our culture's mind out of the water. And if your answer is yes, you're a crazy person.
But very rarely prosecutes people who commit it.
How do you know that they've committed it if they haven't even been prosecuted? Are there examples of compelling evidence existing of sexual violence occurring that have not resulted in prosecution? I'd actually like to see them. Or did you base this not on the awe-striking number of examples there are, but what you hear people saying about this issue? Try the former next time. It's extremely easy to argue with people when you don't pretend to know more than you actually do.
Rape culture is a social bias that we can deconstruct.
You can't deconstruct something unless it has been constructed first, which you and all those who say similar things are attempting to do right now. It's like looking at an empty field saying, "We need to tear that barn down!" Then building a barn, tearing it down, and screaming, "Take that! We sure showed you!" Insane people do that. Stop.
And I'm happy that we're starting to have these conversations more and more. Anyway, this is all food for thought. I want you guys to always remember and to never forget that you are beautiful and you are loved. Bye.
Aw, you're so sweet. You're only saying that because you want to get laid, right? You see how I did that? See how I brought it full... Yeah, you saw it. Anyway, have a wonderful day, everyone else.